Nobody did. Not one person.
Filled out the quiz?
Nope. So,
I started to.
did you?
Okay, we're on, so.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 5:30. Reading the district's promise statement, we promise to provide a supportive environment where unique learning experiences empower all for their chosen life adventure. Are there any additional items for the agenda?
The only thing is, one thing that I want to bring up is we did add under new business, the approval for John Dashner and the approval for Emily Olson. We pulled them from the consent agenda just because of,
Relatives?
yes,
Who
relatives.
Can abstain?
Yes.
I thought we could vote
Thank you.
for relatives, just not spouses.
Well, he was gonna check into it to see.
Terry
if
Morrow
they're
and Gary Lee
living
didn't
with
get
you.
back to me today.
So we just pulled it to be safe.
Okay.
Sort of like
So-
the same way where I abstained when my wife's contract.
Well, it's, you
But
have to for
that's a
spouses.
spouse,
You
yeah,
have
but
to for
for
spouses. We just
Oh,
didn't
we've-
know.
Other
if it was to.
relatives.
Yeah,
so-
we've done that for other relatives too, just so there's no question.
Question.
Yeah, that's why I said, just to be safe, just do it, and that way nobody questions it, so. Okay, any additional items? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
And that's Tim Elke. Do we have a second? A second. And that's Joni Olson. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Recognition of visitors and open forum. We have the FFA team here and Michael Roy from the Janesville Journal. So welcome, everyone. I guess next is FFA presentation, so you guys are all welcome to come up and present for us.
So this is some of the things that we've done this year for FFA. So this is our agenda. We have 42 members, a 9-member officer team. So to become an officer, you need to interview, and then the FFA alumni and the president picks who becomes the next members of the team. And then in 2023, we got the Superior Chapter Award. You have to meet 15 quality standards through various activities. And then last year, I got elected to be a Region 7 officer. I had to interview in front of other FFA members, and there's 30 other schools in our district.
So the national convention gave us a lot of learning opportunities to see what we can do outside of high school, and being a part of FFA gives students who don't really like to do sports to be involved and to do something that they like to do.
So when we were at convention, this picture up here, we went to a dairy farm when we toured that, and then we went to the convention. We sat through a few sessions, and then they also had a really good career expo for us, so we could explore all the career opportunities. And then we also toured the Ozark fisheries over there, and yeah, it was really fun.
This year we did a couple community service projects. Over the summer, they mulched out in front of the school. During the school year, we went and picked berries outside of town, and we helped automakers pick and wash pumpkins. And it was just a fun experience and getting to hang out with friends and doing something good.
I went to state fair, got to show goats, and then had to take care of them, raise them over the summer, and then got to bring them up there showed them a couple different times, 2 or 3 different times, and then we went and got to explore the state fair a little bit and got to experience all that. And then there's more options, I guess, to show pigs and all that.
Yes, that's your last slide.
Alright, thanks for letting us come talk.
Okay, what if we have questions?
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys mind telling us your names and what year you're in school, and if you're an officer for the current FFA chapter, please?
I'm Max Davis. I'm a junior this year, and I'm the treasurer in the chapter.
I'm Cole Schleter, I'm the president, and I'm a senior.
Lester Bronstead, vice president, I'm a junior.
Quinn Krause, sophomore, and I'm the reporter.
Ellie Morstein, I'm a sophomore and I'm the secretary.
Ava McNair, I'm a junior and the student advisor. Madeline Hain, I'm a junior and I'm just a member.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions?
Since you've already talked, but what's one of your favorite experiences that you've had because of FFA, that you may not have had if we didn't have FFA?
One of my personal favorite experiences is the Waseca County Fair, where we get to go work in the barnyard. I really enjoy being able to go into the community and really talk about all the different things there. And I personally get to bring my own birds. I brought my own birds the 2 times I've been. And it's just crazy to see people's reactions and get their education from just farmers and community members instead of outside people who they don't know.
I'd say the state fair, or just competitions in general.
I would have said the state convention, because I didn't get to go to the national convention. I had other things going on. But I really enjoyed the state convention. We just went up there for a few days. And if I can imagine, I'd probably say it's like the national convention, just in scale, I'd say. But yeah, it was really fun. I participated in the band for that, so I didn't really get to go to like all of like the sessions and meetings that everyone else went to. But if FFA weren't a thing, I probably never would have done anything like that in my life. So I thought it was cool.
I kind of enjoy doing the service projects. It's just nice to like know that you're doing something good for the community.
I like national convention because you just gotta go up. You met a lot of new people. The bus ride up there and back was fun because you gotta be with friends in the hotel room with friends, and all that was fun. And just walking around, seeing new things.
I liked the national convention because normally I would never have been able to go and experience that, and to learn like new things like the dairy farm. I would never been able to learn something like that.
I didn't go to the national convention this year, but I did 2 years ago, and that was my most favorite thing. Me and Sam and Kelton just had a great time in the hotel and walking around convention.
After you graduate, do any of you plan to use any of the knowledge that you've gained from being in an FFA, and what would it be? Do you have any ideas or thoughts?
Well, I'll go. Even if like I don't pursue like anything agriculture related, I think like interviewing to be in these positions or having to work with little kids or animals could all help me in my future with like working with people or being able to public speak or anything like that.
Okay, so I agree with everything Ellie said, and I will also be taking that with me. My plan is to go into outdoor recreation, and I think a lot of the things I learned from FFA and the wildlife and fishery competitions and everything involving that is definitely something that I'm carrying with me. Also, just being in FFA, it brings a lot onto your shoulders, and it really brings you up to be a better person, and I think that's something I will carry with me as well.
Can you guys give us a few examples of how that leadership, Ava, that you just talked about, how you put that into practice here at JWP? Maybe when you're not an FFA, but how it's affected you and how you might interact with others here at the school.
I'd probably say in like sports, it's nice to like practice leadership, maybe even just by doing a simple like leading the warm up, just stuff like that, kind of showing those leadership qualities to my other teammates. Yeah.
I would say I've gone to like events and stuff, and you get thrown into like groups with people you don't know, and you have to like, or at meetings we've done, you do like team bonding, like fun activities, and I think if you're working in sports, you could really like think of ways to make your team get closer by doing those things. Or some contests like wildlife and fisheries and small animals, meat, like, yeah, meat qualities, stuff like that. You have to like take these tests, and so I guess you could practice your test taking skills too.
This past middle school, I got the opportunity to be student director, and I think being an FFA really gave me that ounce of courage I needed to be in that position of extra leadership, and I got that opportunity. And I think it helped.
Any other questions?
One last question,
go ahead.
Max. You talked about picking berries. What kind of berries did you pick?
I don't remember exactly what.
Could they have been grapes?
No,
Okay.
they were super tart. They were like,
Aronia berries.
Okay,
they were for like jams
Oh,
and pies and
outstanding.
stuff like that.
They're very
They
bitter,
use
like
them-
alone.
They use them for wine.
there we go.
Any other questions?
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. I
Yes,
appreciate
thank you
it.
for
Thank
coming
you.
tonight.
Have a happy Thanksgiving to
Appreciate
you
it.
all.
Good job, guys.
Thanks. All right, 6B, superintendent report.
Okay, I have a few things. The concrete sidewalk on the east side of the building, or I'm sorry, on the south side of the building down near the parking lot, that has been, we had somebody come in, jack it up, so it was more level. It will settle about a 1/4 inch yet over winter, but then in the spring, when they come back to put the steps in, they'll pull that concrete out and put new concrete down. But it, they have temporarily fixed it for right now. Then today, I got an email from Clinton Rogers at the city for Safe Routes to School. When we originally signed up and agreed to be part of Safe Routes to Schools, the school district agreed to pay up to $45,000 in, for local cost. The first estimated that it would cost about $113,000 in local costs, so the school district would pay 45, and the city would pay the other portion of it, which was 68,000, if I remember correctly. So Clinton sent me an email saying, how about we just split it? Well, the district will pay 43,000, we'll pay 43,000, and we'll move on from there. So I nicely emailed them back and said, well, 45,000 is 40% of 113, and they were gonna pay 60%. So I said, what if we pay 40% of it and you pay 60% of it like we originally agreed? And he was in agreement with that, so it'll be, I think it was like $35,112 will be our portion for Safe Routes to School. So, and that, at this time of year, I would assume that will be starting in the spring. Then, strategic planning has been going well. So we have our second meeting coming up on November 30th, so next Thursday. And then after our second meeting, we'll be putting our writing team together for our strategic plan. And we'll be presenting we'll be presenting some of the stuff from, or of the new strategic plan at our third meeting, making adjustments, and then moving forward with that and bringing it to the school board in early January for a final approval. And then next week, our admin's gonna be meeting with Stephanie White and Sherry Allen from Teamworks regarding MTSS, which is Minnesota Tiered Support Systems, and also the READ Act and how we can work with those two together. They're both legislatively mandated for us now, so it's just a way we can work with them together to progress with them in the upcoming school years. MTSS is about a 5-year program to get all implemented, but the schools that have already started it are seeing success with test scores, amongst other things. Absenteeism continues to be somewhat of an issue. For an example, we had 8 staff out in the elementary today, so that's just half of our building. We do what we can to keep it covered and make sure all the kids are safe. So I appreciate the work that the secretaries and principals do to adjust schedules and everything, and teachers being willing to adjust their schedule to make sure classes are covered.
Is it mostly people out sick? Is that what?
People out sick, some vacations are coming up, starting to come up and whatnot too. We have hired a new speech and language pathologist, so she'll be starting on December 4th. So to cover Jordan Shanks resigned, and she was finished last week, so this will cover her position. Talking to Mr. Rysdam today, he was talking about behaviors and how the number of behaviors are down from the beginning of the year. So I was happy to hear that, and he just says he's starting to kind of settle into his position. We're also talking about graduation, and at the beginning of the year, there were 7 students on the graduation watch list. Now we're down to 3 students on that watch list. The other 4 have turned things around and are on pace to graduate, and he's hoping to get to 0. So QCOM's going well. Teachers are setting up coaching meetings with Casey. A lot of the teachers have set stretch goals this year, so they're stretching what they're comfortable with, which I appreciate. We're seeing some good results with that, and from what's being reported during their meetings. The high school schedule for the 24-25 school year is almost done, so that should be done in the next week or 2. And then the course catalog is just about done, so registration will happen in either mid to late December or early January. Nikki's going to be taking 9 students to the Minnesota State High School League Leadership Conference on December 9th. And then also we're partnering with Huddle for new cameras in the gym and on the football field. And these cameras will be used for events along with the other NFHS cameras. However, the Huddle will be free for families, but the nice part about Huddle is the coaches can also use those for practices. So they can turn them on, watch, and record their practice, and then go back and watch their practice and see where improvements need to be made. Adam's working on getting some quotes and doing some work with new access points for wireless routers, and Mike had started that work and then wanted to do an audit of our facilities to make sure that we had proper coverage. So Adam's continuing with that work. And then Adam is also looking at new vendors or possibly a new website and app tool for us. So doing some work with that. We have a lot going on in community ed right now with working on implementing a new onboarding and training process for our SAC and wraparound workers. So a lot of those workers end up being high school workers, so it's good to have a good process for them. Lisa's also been working with some of the child development students and getting them in the wraparound classrooms, so working between the high school and the elementary there. And then SAC and wraparound is still really short-staffed, but everybody's doing what they can to make it work. So I think we have 8 high school workers right now in SAC and wraparound, and last year at this time we had 15. So with sports and everything, it adjusts schedules. So, but in the office, we're continuing to work on onboarding and offboarding processes. Annika's been busy working on the STAR report, which we have to report to the state. And it's all about teacher licensure and making sure that they're teaching classes that fit into their licensure area. In special education, they're looking at different things with MDE is looking at getting away from a discrepancy model or a disparity model. And what that means is there's a disparity in the students' test scores on how well they're doing and how well they're performing and how well they should be performing. They're looking at getting rid of that and going to an intervention model only. So the student would have to have so much intervention time and try so many interventions before they could qualify for special education in learning disabilities category. And then Wendy's finishing up working on the end of the year audit. So that's been good. And then buildings and grounds, we've been working on a lot of things. However, one of the mandatory things we had to get completed before the first of the year that's done is that we have sanitary napkins and tampons in dispensers in the building, in the bathrooms that have to be in there. And then, so thanks to Mike and the custodians for getting that taken care of. And then also we had a broken spring out on our front playground. That's now been fixed and the kids can use that. So a lot going on, but a lot of good things happening here at the school. So, any questions for me?
So just, I want to make sure I heard you correctly before. So the stairs will be done in the spring now?
Mike, do you have anything to say about that? You're the one that talked to Daryl.
Yeah, I talked to Daryl about it. He said it's too late in the year to really get into it, even though we've had some, pretty decent weather. We want to get in there and do it early in the spring, and he said it'd probably be an April project as soon as frost is out of the ground. And we'll go with there, and then he came and revisited the idea of jacking that up, getting it flat, so it's a non-tripper through the winter months. And he's like, I'm not gonna do a short load for that amount of material. He's like, when we do the main steps, we'll just incorporate that, so.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yep.
So. Are we gonna look at possibly putting a sign or paint in there so like school buses don't park along that area then?
Yeah, what we talked about, it'll come up in the middle, so then there'll be paint along there. So there'll be an area for them to walk, which will be a walking lane.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to 6C, budget information. Enrollment update and historical cash balances.
Our enrollment update, we're down 5 students in the high school right now. So we know that our attendance is fluid, but in our budget, we budgeted for 645 students, and we currently have 653, so we're still above our budget number, but we always want to try and increase that number when we can.
Bless you.
And then historic cash balance. To zoom in to see this one. So, just over, or between 3 and 4 million for our historic cash balance right now.
Any questions on either one? All right. 6D, committee reports. Strategic Planning Committee, I don't
Yeah,
Tim wasn't there.
Tim wasn't there, but,
Yeah.
we have 31 people part of our committee. So, we had a good turnout last week at our first meeting. Things seemed to go well. I think a number of things were brought up. With concerns and areas to grow, there were a number of things that brought up that we're doing well. And obviously, we want to keep doing those things well. So I think overall, it's been very productive, and we've had a good mix of team members. So we have 10 community members. We have seven or eight students, 6 teachers, all of the school board members. So it's been good.
Any questions on that from anybody?
Tim, they did give us homework. I'll get you a sheet of it when we get
Yeah.
done.
Not in school anymore, come on.
Lifelong learners.
Yeah.
All right, next, approval of the consent agenda. As always, we can pull anything out. And if there's any clarifying questions, I will take those now.
Just a quick question, I probably asked this before, but I don't remember. So on the general CD and the project CD, that's what we have in CDs right now, is that correct?
Wendy?
Yes, and then we just had a CD mature, so a little bit later, we'll look at, investing, what we wanna do with that CD that just matured. Some of it's project fund, some of it's general fund.
Okay.
And just remind me, how do you decide what you want to do with that as far as investing that? What's kind of the criteria, how you make decisions on that?
Well, we talked to Sean at the bank and talked to Ellers, and they have thoughts and advice. So, as far as keeping our returns good, we do get interest on our checking accounts. The bank is good about that. So just kind of looking at how much liquidity we want and what kind of returns we can get.
Thanks.
I do have a question on the statement, the history membership dues, that's the history trip refunds. Are those from way in the past? Cause that doesn't go through the school anymore, right?
Right, that's money that was collected before 2020.
Okay,
And so when COVID canceled that trip,
okay,
Matt and Howard worked out what donations, or not donations, but what student balances were refundable, because they had put their own cash into it. And then if there were siblings that could use it, or if they wanted to go on a future trip or something like that. So we're getting down to the last few refundable balances.
okay, that's what I just thought
Yeah.
that was run through
Yep, but
him now
anything
and
new
not,
is, yep,
yeah,
it's through
okay.
Howard's company, yep.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yep. In looking at it, the first couple of pages, it looks like that we're just now paying June 23 credit cards. I'm hoping the entire credit card got billed, and this is just the other charges?
Yeah,
And we're
yeah,
not
no,
past
yep.
due?
The credit cards get paid every month, and then
Okay.
it's just kind of coding it to the right funds.
Mm-hmm. And
Yep.
sometimes I know you don't get those in a
Yep.
timely fashion.
Yep.
I do the same thing. And then there was just some, if we send, or if students, make it to state, there we go. As a school then, does like the activities fund or whatever, do they pay for the lodging and the meals and all that stuff for the state participants?
They do, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think some of those funds come from the high school league also,
I think you're right, yeah.
so.
We
If I
do,
remember
yeah, we
correctly.
do get reimbursed, that's why we keep signing up for the grant for the state high school league, but because they're in such bad shape, the reimbursement's just been way,
Right, okay.
way low.
It's,
Okay.
yeah, it's minimal, but
Mhm.
it's
You
something.
get a little bit, yeah.
And then my last question. I guess I still don't quite know exactly how TAHR works. But in there it said that we're paying for staff development. Is that
we're paying for their staff dirt or our staff? Because I think we just have one.
Right, we do have just one. Let's see.
Because I'm just wondering if it's their staff, won't they be responsible for the development? Or I should have wrote down what page I found that on.
Let's see.
It's on page 19. The third one down.
Oh, that was for the staff, lunch on our training day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they
was
provided
kind
food
of a
for
catering.
our staff
Yeah, right,
development
right.
day.
Yes.
Yep,
That makes
Yep.
sense. Okay.
yes.
All right, any other questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve under consent agenda.
And it's Tim Elke, do we have a second?
I'll second.
And it's Sherry Dashner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. All right, so where are we? 8. Old business, discussion and approval to move forward with the roofing project in summer of 2024. I believe that is you, Mike, then, right?
Yep. We'll start with the, obviously the vote was a positive. Oh, sorry. Our vote was a positive, so as I've talked about it before, is there anyone that really has any questions about the roof portion? I know we've had conversations in length, whether it's what portion that we want to do, G and I, then roof F, and C, D, and E. With that being said, we were approved for the $84,000 grant for solar. So, with that being said, of course, that's contingent on our roof section F. So I'm basically asking for a blessing that we move forward, or a discussion with it and approval, so that I can finish filling out the Department of Commerce grant approval. They have to do the finalization of it. So we've been granted it, then we just have to go through the whole process with it. And obviously, the second part is that skylight. I have got a quote now from W.L. Hall. I think at our study session, we had talked about that I hadn't had hard numbers with it. It's the skylight that's in our commons area. I've got a quote of $40,154 to replace that, with the intent that it's going to be a 25-year skylight. Or do we move forward to quote out to replace it with covering, as we are with these two particular skylights? These two across here, the sum would have been $71,487, and we're covering it for the sum of $15,000 to replace these here, with blocking them out with a standing seam. There will be some more engineering in that. So I guess the question is, do we want to move forward with the skylight as it is in the commons, which gives natural light in that area? Or do you want me to proceed with this? My biggest concern is doing skylight work after we do the roof. So, I guess to start with it is, how far do you guys want to go with the roofing project? Do we want to do all of that I've asked?
So can you just refresh our memory instead of having to go back and look? The roofing project that we were bidded, which sections were those again, Mike?
G is the section that wraps around the band, the choir, all the way around to upper elementary, which would be, what, 3rd through 5th grade, up in that area. I is a small little entryway that's over outside of the wrestling room next to my office, or that transition point. F is over the top of our auditorium and small gym. And then C, D, and E are the next steps that tier down, and then into the media center where we're sitting right now. So with that being said, and Jeremy's got a price kind of layout where we're looking at with numbers with.
I like the next page better.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, show them the next page, I
Okay.
guess.
I do, it doesn't mean that everybody else will. So, we'll look at the roof, we'll save the track for later.
Yep.
But right now, we have in our assigned roofing projects or roof LTFM fund, we currently have $800,000. We put $100,000 into that every year. So if we were to do roof the whole thing, we would end up overspending that account by $776,000. But with that being said, we have this, the bond project is $1.6 million. $1,634,591.38. So we can use some of that money to pay off the rest of the roof, if we want to do everything at once. That would mean them coming in, having one set, they set everything, one crane, do everything at once. If we have them come back and if we only do a portion of it now, it becomes a lot more expensive because they have to come back, reset everything in the future. But so I think about it that way, but when we were figuring this out, we were looking at a number of different projects we would like to do. Roof being one of them, so if we did the roof, we'd still have money left over. We'd have this $796,000, and that's after, if we did a new camera system in the building, paid off our 2014 bond and everything, we'd still have $20,000 left over that we would put back into our roof fund for the next year, and it'd be $120,000, because next year we'd still put our $100,000 in it, and this would be another $20,000 that would be remaining from that. But one big thing we have to remember, and Ellers talked about this the other day when we met with them, is this 1.6, we have to use all of that money by October 21st of next year. Otherwise, it goes to arbitrage, yes, that's what the word is.
So you have 0 for the vape detectors, is that?
We're looking
is
at
that
grants
grant?
for that,
Okay, yeah.
So, because they passed it, because I thought when we were talking before, if it didn't pass, we could go back out again for vote, but since they passed it, now we only have 1 year to
No.
spend it all?
No, and I was misinformed or I misunderstood.
Okay.
You have 3 years from when the bond was originally taken out, not when we were done spending money out of the bond.
Okay.
So they did clear that up for us, which I appreciated.
Do we have to use the 800,000 toward the roof, since we've been pulling that out for the roof, or can we just go right to the bond money?
We can go right to the bond money, however, then that wouldn't leave enough to pay off our 2014 bond or the cameras. So it's using roof money and bond money to do more than just a roofing project.
And the roofing money has to be used toward the roof. We can't use it toward other things, because we've been earmarking it for the roof? Because
You-
wouldn't you want
that
to use the
you
bond money
could-
first if it has to be?
Yeah, we would use the bond money first,
Okay.
but we can reallocate the roof money if we want to. It just takes the vote of the board to reallocate that.
So the question I have, and I'm guessing Eilers stated that it'd be better to pay off the bond, because isn't the interest rate on that 2014 bond really low?
It is really low, and what they said is use up the money from the project first and do the whole roof if it's gonna cost more than $50,000 to come in and reset everything. Said do the whole roof now, was their recommendation. Because what we're saving with paying off the bond early is about $50,000 in interest.
Okay. Does this, and Mike, maybe you can answer this too, but with the potential solar panel project, what is our cost for the solar panel project? I mean, the $84,000 grant isn't gonna cover the whole cost, is it?
It does.
So no money out of school needs to come for that?
The only money that we're asking for is the different style of roof.
For the
that's
roof,
being
yeah,
done.
portion.
Yep, on the
Okay.
roofing portion. So we're getting 30-year solar panels on a 30-year roof. So we'd be putting it at it. So our best spent money towards the roof would be additionally adding F into this. And as I think I mentioned it before, it's a $5,000 increase on roof F to get our returns of, in 25 years, they're projecting that 10% or whatever the numbers are, so.
I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have any additional costs for, if we do go with the, solar project and stuff.
Nope, I had the conversation with Rich from Ideal Energy again the other day. Jeremy was in on the conversation, and they're like, they will build it to match the $84,000 grant, so there'll be zero out of pocket. They have their engineers on staff and everything that covers it, so they basically build it to that dollar amount.
And then when would that possibly, I mean, the roof would have to be done, and then what are we
This-
looking at, like?
This next fall, it'd be end of summer. As soon as the roof's done, they would be incorporating it. It should be at about the beginning of the school year, the same way. If the timeline matches and weather permits, we'll be looking the first week of August to move in solar onto their roof as well.
Okay. So really, the big thing is because we were thinking we had more time, we need to spend this money down. Okay.
I would just mention, having talked to a fair number of taxpayers / voters, paying off that bond was important to them.
Me personally, I'd like to see us I'm still waiting on numbers. $200 was a rough number that we guessed at for the camera system. But we know the roofing numbers, we know the payoff of the bond. So between what we have in the assigned roofing LTFM and the money that we have left from the project, we can do both,
Understand?
so. And still be left with money in our roof LTFM for anything that may come up in the future, so.
And with that being said, I've talked with Garland about it, and moving forward, at that point, I think as we discussed how the flood gravel resurfaced, that 10-year plan after 30 years goes by is a whole different dollar number, so we don't have to continue putting our $100,000 a year towards that, because the price per square foot is not $11 per square foot. It is closer to that $1 or $2 or up to as high as $3 per square foot. So our LTFM budgeting will change tremendously at that point. And then our numbers are at like, what was it, 2038, and then again at 2054. So we can budget and align much better at that point, so.
I know we're talking specifically about the roof right now, but paying off the bond, we do pay about $140,000 a year for that. So paying that off early means that that $140,000 that we pay every year goes back into our general fund. So that's helpful to us to pay that bond off early also.
And the camera system, is this just like brand new cameras? And how old is our cameras right now in here?
Oh my gosh, 10 to 12 years old.
So is that something then, with technology changing and all that stuff, is that something then that we should be putting $20,000, $30,000 a year into a fund so that 10 years down the road, if we have to replace them, we don't have a $300,000 all of a sudden hit, like we've been doing with the roofs, maybe reallocate. If you're saying we don't need as much money for the roofs, reallocate some of that towards
Right.
cameras?
Yep. I would
Or
say,
security?
I would say security, you could call it security technology in
Yeah.
general, because we all know that our
Yeah, we
computers
do.
aren't gonna last
Yeah.
forever either,
Mhm.
and it would be a way for us to start building up some money in those areas.
Didn't we already start putting away for Chromebooks?
We do have
Yeah.
some, we
Yeah, I
do put
thought
some
we did
away,
that,
Yeah.
Will these cameras have sound?
yes.
Yeah, that was the thing that's.
The camera, Adam and I are sitting in on a webinar next Monday. Cameras that have sound, they'd actually hook to our, it would be a whole new security system. So instead of using Raptor, it would be a different security system that does the same thing as Raptor, but our cameras, all the cameras would hook right to that also. So, just starting to get into it. Like I said, that 200,000 was a rough number of, okay, this is what they gave us for what we're really looking for.
No, I know you had track stuff about, none of that money was for that?
Nope,
Okay,
track is different, that's why
Okay.
I covered it up.
yep.
I guess my thought, just to move on to the skylight, I think we cover it up like we're doing with this in here, instead of dealing with replacing it, and you still have to worry about damage to it, and it's just like any roof skylight. It's, in the school, we have all the LED lighting and all that stuff, so I don't see where it's worth having the natural for, specifically, during the summer, nobody's in here, and that's when you're gonna get most of the light.
The one adverse side effect of eliminating that is we don't have the heat energy that is generated by the skylights that we have to battle with balancing the temperature as well too. Because even if you get up into these skylight areas during the summer, we have a balloon of very hot air that comes in that area. So it is much more energy efficient if we don't have that natural light coming in. We've learned that even in our upper high school when we changed to tinted windows, that they're a lot more easier to manage as well. So I can look into that and find out what our side costs are versus, obviously, if I got $40,000 and they're doing this comparably, I'm sure they can come up with some decent numbers as well. And that'd be just a side thought of where we're gonna pick up the numbers at that point. Obviously, I'd have to have permission through Jeremy and get a quote and go that route. So if you wanna eliminate that as well, I'll talk to the engineering company and figure out how we move forward with that.
Again, that's just my thought, I don't know
I
what
would-
anybody else
I would
thinks.
agree, I'd say cover it up. I think skylights can pose lots of problems on anything that they're on, I think, so.
And students really are only getting that natural light half hour
Yeah.
a day during lunch, so it's not.
Much. Okay. All right, so back to 8A then. Any further discussion on that?
So just looking ahead just a little bit further from a budgeting perspective, we do not, and I know all of our negotiations I don't think are wrapped up, but
No, not yet.
we don't anticipate running a budget that would be running a deficit that would eat into our historical or our balance.
In the 24 budget that we're in right now, no.
How about 25?
25, we haven't created that budget yet, but we'll have, that will be, should be thinking about where the negotiations have ended up, should be very similar to this year's budget.
Again, I mean, that would be the only reason to start looking at not paying off a bond that's at a favorable interest rate, is if we anticipate having to go negative for a year or two or whatever. Be the only reason.
Right, and I understand that, but if we're also able to put that 140,000 back into our fund balance, that should be an offset,
Sure.
if we were to go into a negative.
And if we do go into a negative, I mean, our policy, we're still over on our percent on policy.
I get
too,
that.
So we do have some room to move if we need to, so, yeah.
Understand.
But yeah, very good point.
I mean, I'd be a little more cautious if I knew we were gonna have to go negative as to spending money on things that maybe are a little more of a want than a need, but totally understand that we don't anticipate this. I know that we've got an extra cushion. I get that.
No, but very good question. All right, any other discussion on 8A? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the roofing project to cover G, I, F, C, D, and E as proposed.
That's Tim Melky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Joni Olson. Any further discussion? Did we get all the sections covered?
Yes.
No? Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right. No further discussion, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. All right, 8B. Any further discussion on the solar project?
And really, they've given us approval for the grant, now this is finalizing the grant is what it is.
Right. And we have till January 3rd,
January 15th.
15th.
I would make a motion to move forward with it
That's
as written.
Kevin Bourne. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Sherry Dashner. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Any further discussion on the second skylight then?
So again, Mike, your recommendation is to cover it up.
Yes,
Okay.
my recommendation is to cover it up.
So, and you'll go get,
I'll get
you'll get the information, bring it back to us so we can,
Yes,
okay.
yep.
So we don't know what that's gonna cost it. That would come out of that
No.
funding then too?
That's different.
That's different?
Yep.
Okay.
So, we're just, yeah, we're seeing what that's gonna cost us.
Okay.
But if we were to replace it as is, it would be 41,000.
Correct.
And you're also using information of if we were to replace
Replace
these, it was gonna
these.
be 75? or-
Yes.
And it turns out to be 15, so we're expecting 40-some turns into 10.
Yes.
Yep.
And with that B and G, we have that $47,000 budgeted in for worst-case scenario.
It's on the sheet.
That's on that sheet. That's worst-case scenario. Most likely, after talking to the roofers, it's probably gonna be closer to the 27,000. They just have the cushion in there in case we have to order extra thermoduct seals to keep it under warranty. So there's a chance that we're gonna be at the 27 versus that's our worst-case scenario. So I stayed with the worst-case scenario just to cover it. So hopefully with them numbers, that would cover our skylight replacement and recovering as well, so.
Okay. Sounds good. Any further discussion on that then? All right, 8D, discussion and approval to add 2 food warmers in the kitchen.
Taher was at the study session at the beginning of the month, and mentioned this, bringing up purchasing 2 food warmers. If I remember correctly, they're $499 each. It would come out of the food service budget, which there's plenty of money in there. This would allow for them to have a third hot option for students 7 through 12. They talked about hamburgers, pizza, chicken sandwiches, different things. So they just need the go-ahead from the board to purchase these if we feel the need to.
I so feel the need. I make the motion to go ahead and approve the purchase of them.
That's Kevin Bourne. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Tim Elke. Any further discussion? Any questions anyone had? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. All right, 9, new business. Discussion of project fund investment options. Mike, if you need to leave,
Okay.
or do you have anything else on your?
Just, we're not talking about the track tonight, are we?
Oh, do we need to talk about that?
No, that was just something we were,
Proposed plan?
you know,
The only question I have is, do I need permission to go and get a contract with Garland at this point to move forward? Because that's what they're gonna wait for. Once we've approved this, now I can continue and get Garland under contract for the amount of work to be done. So do I have to have a vote or anything on that, or just?
you have that.
I have all that, so I can just move to a contract?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, sorry, back to 9A then, discussion project fund investment options.
So as I mentioned, we had 1.25 million on a CD for project funds, along with $1 million in general funds that just matured a couple weeks ago. So it's sitting there at the bank, earning nothing at the moment. So we just need to figure out what we want to do with that money, if we want to just put it all into our checking account and earn a 3% interest on it, or if we want to purchase a couple or one CDs with some or all of the funds. So we were kind of looking at assumptions of paying off our bond and having some liquidity for starting the roofing project, and then, you know, as far as when we'd need some of that money available to us. So I looked at 3 different options to kind of did some quick and dirty interest earning on decreasing balances, or when we might need a big chunk of money available. And so it's just kind of showing the interest on a couple different scenarios, 3 different scenarios. So just wanted to get some feedback and thoughts from the board on how liquid we want our money and how important it is, liquidity over earning some interest. So the first one is just putting everything into our checking account, and I kind of just did some, you know, when we'd maybe use some of the big chunks of money, like if we were to pay off our bond right away in February, and then, you know, those remaining balances as they'd kind of come out over the summer for the roofing. Option 2 is to purchase a 3-month CD with some of the funds, leaving enough to cover the bond payoff for a couple months in the checking account, so that's available in February. And then just leaving the rest of it, once the CD matures, putting it back into the checking account and just having that earning the 3%. Or if we wanted to, on the third option, purchase 2 CDs at $800,000 and $230,000, and just kind of seeing how those interest rates could stack up. So if anybody has any thoughts or opinions, and it kind of ties into whether we want to pay the bond off right away or not, as far as how much liquidity we want with those dollars.
So to me, everything seems pretty short-term. I mean, 3 months isn't a lot of time, so I don't think of that really as tying it up too much from the standpoint of a liquidity. Just out of curiosity, the 3%, I mean, do we explore money markets? Do we look at, you know, other aspects of checking that still allows us all the
Yeah.
flexibility, but, you know,
I haven't yet. I know Matt had, worked with Janesville State Bank and kind of come up with this 3% solution.
Got it.
But that's certainly
I'm just
something to
curious.
look more into. Mm-hmm.
Just familiar with money markets that are paying roughly about 5% right now.
Okay.
That's all.
Sure.
Just curious
Sure.
on where we fall on that or what the
Yeah.
kind of agreement is there. I would definitely try and maximize interest right now. I mean, we're in a very favorable environment finally after what, 12 years, 10 years of just, nothing. As far as paying off that bond, I mean, again, it's kind of, to me, the sooner you do it, the more to the voters it looks like you did what you said you would, and it'd be a positive thing, in my opinion. You've got the 140,000, you could sit on it for a little while and you'll earn more interest probably than what you will paying on it, depending upon what you do with it. Because I'm guessing the bond interest rate is under 3%. So, but to me, the vote kind of said this is what we're gonna do. Assuming we have the cash, why not pay it off sooner rather than later? Again, it's not just about what would maximize our, total interest costs and receipts, but it's more of just a sign of following through and part of what we said we would do, that's all. Otherwise, I trust a lot of your judgment, your advisors, again, should be able to get somewhere around 5% these days, right now with where things are at, till they start cutting interest rates. Supposedly is in about a year. Other thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I would agree, try to get as much as we can from it. So I guess looking at this, that'd be option 3 then, probably, right?
I guess, is that option 3 is 26, right?
Yep.
So me personally, I'd go with option 2. It seems like a lot less hassle and you're only about $1,000 less than option 3, according to the rough figures here. I mean, it seems like a lot less hassle. You got more money still in the checking in case we need it, and if it was $10,000, it'd be a little different, but $1,000.
True.
Which one would you go for?
I kind of agree with Tim as far as, just having that money available over the summer, not having done a big project. As business manager, I don't know how quickly those bills come in and how soon we'll need that money, so, that's kind of where I'm leaning to. It's not a huge loss if we were to have that money available over the summer.
I'm fine with that, either way. So we don't currently have a money market checking. What is is just the regular? We're not making any interest at all?
We make 3%.
We are
That
earning
is the
3.
3%?
Yeah,
Okay.
And I
3%
think that
on-
was the,
On both of our accounts.
yeah, and that was, part of it is Janesville State Bank has come up with their interest rate for us to keep us,
Oh, yeah.
but they can't match at that time, they couldn't match a money market
Well,
account.
it'd be interesting to go back and see now that things have changed, if they would
Right.
change. Just curious.
And they also do the debit, with the cards with
Mhm.
Trinity and the school, so we do get about 20,000 or
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
from them on that too.
I think last year
so-
was
Yep.
11 or 12, I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Yep.
and I do know that Matt has worked with them and he has gone out when he was here to other sites. And the other sites were a little bit higher, but there was also, it wasn't local. You weren't
Right.
keeping the stuff local, and their sites, were like, I think it was every 6 months or whatever you had to look at, because they could readjust. Where we kind of locked this in, where we had like a year of it, and then you'd go back.
Any other questions? So I don't know if that helps you, Wendy, if you.
Very much, thank you.
Okay. All right, 9B, approval of MOU regarding overload pay for 2023, 2024 school year.
Okay, so our MOU from our previous contract, our overload pay for previous contract was at 14.5% per school year. So if a teacher was on an overload, they got 14.5. Our new contract is 12.7 for overload pay. So when we were figuring things out, it would actually be a loss or a decrease in pay for those teachers to make that change now. When we figured it out, it's about a $3,000 difference, $3,200 difference to keep it for the remainder of this year at 14.5% compared to changing it to the 12.7. So what we're asking is board's approval to keep it at 14.5 for the remainder of this year and then start the second year at that 12.7. Just so we don't have a decrease in pay for those 3 staff members that are on overload.
Makes sense to me. Any questions on that? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding regards to overload pay.
That's Tim Melky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Joni Olson. Any further discussion? Sorry. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. 9C, approval of Jonathan Dashner as Community Ed SAC Wraparound Assistant. Any discussion on that?
I would make a motion to go ahead and approve.
That's Kevin Bourne. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Tim Melky. Any further discussion?
I'll abstain.
Not all those in favor say aye.
What was
Aye.
that?
Would you just say yeah?
You said all those not in favor say aye.
No, I said if not,
Oh,
and any further
okay.
discussion, all those in favor say aye. If not, all those in favor say aye. For the
So-
approval. So she's abstaining.
Okay, now go on with your vote.
Okay. So if no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0 with 1 abstention. All right, sorry for that. 9D, approval of Emily Olson as high school girls basketball varsity assistant coach. Any discussion on that? All right.
I would make a motion to approve.
That's Kevin Bourne. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Whoever.
It
wants
doesn't matter.
Give it to Katie. Katie Cahill. Any
I'll
further
abstain.
discussion? Okay, Joni is abstaining. All right. If no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0 with 1 abstention. All right, 9E, the MSBA Leadership Conference is coming up January 11th and 12th. Isn't it usually 3 days? Or no?
No.
They have that,
They have that
yeah, they have the
optional.
Wednesday thing.
Yep.
So, anybody interested in going to that? I know I usually go. I think Sherry said she's interested.
I'd like to. Learned a lot last year.
Mhm.
I'm interested as well.
It's a nice conference, so very good speakers. So you don't have to decide right now, but if anybody has any thoughts.
Yep,
you can let
and if you're
Jeremy
gonna go,
know.
let Annika know, because she'll book
Let-
the
let
hotel
her know
rooms
right
and
away.
everything
Okay.
else for us.
Okay, sounds good.
When do you want to know by?
What's the early bird?
I don't remember.
It's already
Thing.
closed. It was last. Yeah,
Oh, it
We
was
just sent those
already.
out.
Yeah, we just got those.
I know.
Usually give
I
you more
want to say it
time,
was
don't they?
Friday. That's why I sent that email.
Oh. we should
I guess I
say
should have said something.
It's
probably still open, just at early bird pricing.
Right,
but-
right.
Yeah,
No,
it's all-
it's still open, it's just, yeah,
Right,
the
I
early
didn't
bird.
realize that that was already,
Yeah, advanced registration closes November 17th.
oh, okay.
Oh, wait, no, that's for the, no, never mind, that's
Is that
for
for the
the,
Wednesday thing?
Oh,
Is
that's,
that-
that's for a
that's for
different
if you,
workshop.
yeah,
Let me go into it, let's see.
thought that was if you wanted to present at it or something.
Oh, okay.
Table discussion. or
Yeah,
something.
table discussions and all
Thought that was
that.
quick, that they're closing
Yeah, usually it's like the
Mid-December.
second week of December or
Yeah.
something.
So I'd say
Well,
we'd want to know by.
December 29th is when advanced registration closes.
the, okay, okay.
So, at our December board meeting,
Yeah.
so.
Any questions on the leadership conference anybody has? Okay. The one we're all waiting for, 9F.
Food service discussion. I think we need to pull our committee together and have a real thoughtful, deep discussion on what direction we need to go with food service. If it is looking to hire everybody, hire it from within and run it from within our district? Is it to look at maybe creating a cooperative with another school district and have a food service director with both locations? Just brainstorm ideas to get the ball rolling with, as you know, we've had issues this year. It's not a secret to anybody with food service. And I don't want to wait till the last minute and not know what we're doing. I think we need to start making some decisions about that now in order to move forward with it.
Do you already have your committee that you're talking about, or?
Yeah, we had 2 board members that
That's what I thought.
were going to be
Yeah.
part of it,
Okay,
so.
I didn't, you
But
haven't met yet, though,
We have
as a
not met
committee.
yet,
Okay.
but I do want to start those discussions.
But it's not just with board members, you're talking other people too, right?
Yeah, I want to, well, I want
Like
to
Wendy
talk
and-
specifically with
Wendy
Wendy,
and-
board members. Annika will be involved
Yeah.
because it is a lot of data input on our part.
Yeah,
But I just want to sit down and brainstorm ideas of what we can do, who do we approach, and to move forward with this. Because as you may have gotten an email today, that the menu has changed for tomorrow again.
But due to the success.
It was, and it was a good salad. I did have that salad today. It was a very good salad. So,
The response I received was, they should have known. They shouldn't have put it on for a second day if they didn't have enough for the second day, because that is one of the biggest, kids love that.
yep.
And so that's another, I'm gonna say, fall down on Taher.
And I would agree with that. I was surprised to get that email. I was happy to see the item on the
Mhm.
salad bar today, but surprised that they didn't have enough.
yeah.
But,
And I know
so,
we discussed all the equipment in the kitchen belongs to the school district.
all of the equipment in the
And
kitchen
so
belongs to
the school district is responsible for the maintenance of all of it.
When we know it needs to be maintained.
Mm-hmm. And what if is all the proper things being done to maintain it? And is Taher ever responsible for anything if they're not maintaining equipment the way it should be maintained? Or is it's just our equipment, our responsibility?
Our equipment, our responsibility.
Do we have a, per se, maintenance plan for that equipment? Like, I mean, we have a maintenance plan for the boilers, we have a maintenance plan for, we'll have it for the dehumidification. Do
Like
we
the
have one for that?
Weekly or monthly inspections on it and everything.
Yeah,
Not that I'm aware of. I will do some research and find that out, because we
Okay.
should, in my opinion, we should.
yeah, and honestly, I didn't know, I thought since Taher was there, even though it's our equipment, I thought they would be, hey, this isn't working right, or this, or whatever, and
They do tell us, but it tends to come to us
a little late.
late.
Yeah.
And by the time you call,
Whoever.
is it Hobart or
Hobart.
Hobart? There's 2 of them that sound very familiar,
Mhm.
but, or sound identical. But Hobart, then they have a way that they dispatch workers and everything that,
It could be a while. yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So,
Which, right, a lot of us, because of the whole supply chain issues, we all had to move more to a preventative maintenance model where, you know, $1,000 spent a year with Hobart on looking at it on a scheduled basis might be a very positive thing for us.
absolutely. Well, no different than our inspections with our playgrounds they do those once a week, and
Yep.
we can get something put together with that.
We do combine inspections for the same reason.
Yeah.
You need to use it. You don't want to find out that a belt's cracked and broken. So,
So I'll email those committee members and we'll get a meeting set up in the next, it won't be this week. It'll be the next couple weeks though.
I thought we could do it on Thursday.
Go ahead.
They're gonna make us this meal, right?
Yeah.
No, the one that would probably perform that, it has to cook a turkey, so, sorry. No, not Thursday.
Oh, you're gonna be at the meeting Thursday? No.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions? All right.
Going back to
Oh, yeah.
the leadership conference, it does say the hotel reservation deadline is Friday, December 8th.
Okay, so we would wanna know.
So we have a study session on December 4th,
Yeah, I
so
was gonna say.
So we should
we'll
know
want to know
then.
by December 4th. Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. All right. Approve resolution accepting donations with many thanks, and thank you for whoever added those 3, I was gonna ask about that, and was that you, Annika?
Yes.
Okay, because I was also wondering what those were for. I will read through the donations, and then we'll go with the vote, or approval. Bulldog Backers donated $395.99 for the elementary playground ball locker. Wasika Area Foundation donated $1,000 for the Raptor Safety Security Software upgrade. Are we, if we're switching, are
It would
we-
still go to that,
Okay,
whether it's Raptor or whatever, it's still
Okay.
going to go to the security software.
okay. Katie Cahill, Katie Johnson, Sue Adams, and Bernie Zelmer all donated props for the musical. The Wasika Area Foundation donated $1,200 for the pug mill, for a pug mill for the art department. $1,000 to Calissa Elric for the sensory room. $1,500 to Kaylee Warner for the Raptor upgrade. $1,000 to Kaylee Warner for the Raptor upgrade. $3,000 for the EFJ scholarship, and $100 for the John Creed scholarship in spring of 2023.
Okay, and that check comes from Wasika Area Foundation. However, it's actually the Janesville Area Foundation. It just is funded through Wasika. So
So this,
that's money that's raised within Janesville, and then they give the money back that they earn on interest to the community.
okay, that makes sense. Any questions on those? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept all donations with many thanks.
And that's Tim Melky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And that's Sherry Dashner. And this is a resolution.
Horn,
yes.
Dashner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Elke,
Yes.
Zeiss.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. The upcoming meetings are on there. One's to the non-certified negotiations, November 27th, strategic plan committee, November 30th, school board study session, and truth and taxation are December 4th. And then another strategic plan committee, December 13th, and regular school board meeting, December 18th.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, but that November 27th is supposed to be 3:45, not
I was
3:34.
gonna say, is it
Oh,
really
I
3:34?
didn't even see
Because I
that.
put it down as 3:45.
My
on
fingers got in the way.
Okay.
Start exactly at 3:34.
I wasn't even gonna bring it up.
I didn't even
I
see
just
that.
noticed it now.
I find that hard to believe.
Your service.
You were too.
Well, maybe off record.
Yeah. All right, then meeting is adjourned at 6:50. Thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Spend time with family.
All right, I gotta get out of here before Anna catches me.